Good evening, councillors. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I declare the meeting open at 6 p.m. Declaration of opening and announcement of visitors. We have a number of visitors in the gallery. I don't know their individual names, but we acknowledge your presence and no doubt you'll be taking note of the conduct of the meeting. Item 2, record of attendance, apologies, leave of absence previously approved. All councillors are in attendance, but leave of absence. Councillor McCleary.
I'm going to request a leave of absence for the next meeting.
Councillor McCleary's asked for a leave of absence for the next meeting. That is the August meeting of council, ordinary council meeting. Can I have someone move that? Move. Oh, it doesn't require moving. My apologies. Yes?
Item 5.
The question is, Councillor McCleary would like a leave of absence for the August OCM. Can I have a mover for that motion, please? Deputy Shire President, Councillor Mould. Seconded, Councillor Noonan. Any speakers against? I'll put the motion. Declare that carried unanimously. Thank you.
Acknowledgement to country.
Beg your pardon?
Acknowledgement to country.
Do you wish me to acknowledge each individual councillor that voted?
Acknowledgement to country, which you haven't
No,
read.
and that's a very good point. Thank you, Councillor Hasty. Councillor Hasty has kindly reminded me that I haven't done an acknowledgement of country, given my anxiety to get on with the rest of the agenda, but I'll do so. We wish to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land we are meeting on, the Wandandi people. We wish to acknowledge and respect their continuing connection to the land, waters and community. We pay our respects to all members of the Aboriginal communities and their culture, and their elders past and present, their descendants who are with us today, and those who will follow in their footsteps. Thank you. Response to previous questions taken on notice. We have a series of questions. First question, do we have a Trina Williams in attendance? I'll read the question. Question 1, there is an overdue need. Yep. Look, the CEO's reminded me that our future policy will be, not on this occasion because we haven't advised it, but our future policy will be that the questioner who is not in attendance will be referred to a question on notice and it will be responded to in the minutes. But on this occasion, because we haven't given that prior notice, we will deal with the question. Question 1 from Trina Williams of Capel. There is an overdue need for dog poo bag stations. The response. There are currently 38 dog poo stations within the Shire of Capel. In Capel town site itself, there are 4 dog poo bag dispensers based at parks and dog exercise areas. Consideration is underway for a new station in the reserve along the Hawley Parkway opposite Burl Road, Capel, and should be in place in the coming weeks. Question 2. Looking forward to the Hawley Parkway being open from Prowse to Goodwood Road. This will, and has in past years before it was fenced off for this reason, create a racing track for local hoons. I wish to propose that appropriate plans be incorporated from the onset along this section to reduce high-speed traffic, be that speed bumps, curve islands, etc. The response. This feedback is noted and will be considered by the engineering team. Question 3. Stage 1 Goodwood Estate requires lineage along Hawley Parkway and the lines to stop, give way entering onto Hawley Parkway. The amount of near misses is increasing at an alarming rate. Centre lines, the reply, centre line stop and give way treatments are regulated by Main Roads WA and their application is determined by standards relating to the road characteristics. The engineering team will assess Hawley Parkway and request changes if identified to Main Roads WA. Next question.
Because Baldwin's here.
Yep.
Just make sure you read that out.
Yep. The next question is from Mutton of Stirling Estate. When coming to ask your questions, please state your full name and locality only for the minute taker before commencing your questions. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. President and CEO and councillors. My name is Bronwyn Mutton of Stirling Estate. In 2000, the southwest of WA was recognised as one of only 25 declared biodiversity hotspots on planet Earth.
Ms Martin, is that actually a statement or a question?
That's a statement. It's prelude to my question.
Well, please keep it brief. You've got 2 minutes.
It is the only area in Australia worthy of this recognition. In 2018, WA chewits were identified by the Australian Federal Environment Department as a threatened ecological community needing urgent protection. This follows 2016 declaration that WA Banksias are TEC. During construction of the Bunbury Outer Ring Road, so much excessive water was drawn from bores that many dozens of trees, some hundreds of years old, dried and died and continue to die. This is now obvious when driving along Bustle Highway. This proposed Malacup Road EIL is adjacent to a section of the world's only truest forest national park. Much underground water will be drawn for the project, lowering water table. My question, can the proponent and the Shire of Capel guarantee no tuart or banksia trees or shrubs in the adjacent Tuart Forest National Park will die due to water extraction from bores during the years of the project?
Thank you. The reply is, the advice is the application has been referred to the Department of Water, Environment and Regulation in relationship to groundwater matters and the Department of Biodiversity, Conservation and Attractions in relation to flora and fauna matters. The proposed development specifically includes removal of vegetation and has setbacks to the crown drip line of trees on site to minimise adverse impacts to the roots and immediate environment. The assessment of the proposal by Shire officers in consultation with the state agencies will include consideration of the potential impacts that may be caused by change in groundwater levels. Thank you.
Thank you. Question 2. The Malacup Road EIL proposes 20 truck movements per hour for 19-metre truck lengths. Currently, 218 vehicles per day, proposed 326 vehicles per day, 50% increase in vehicles. Malacup Road is listed by Transport Impact Statement Report PTG/02794, 27th of the 2nd, 26. Malacup Road is the lowest tier of road, classified as an access road. Provide access to abutting properties with amenity, safety and aesthetic aspects having priority over the vehicle movement function. These roads are bicycle and pedestrian friendly, managed by local government. Narrow Malacup Road is unsafe for trucks of this size, number, frequency. Shire of Capel is promoting increased cycling tourism. In order for safe road use on Malacup Road for tourist caravans, trucks, that is carrying horse, cattle and sheep, cyclists and local residents, much reconstruction is required on Malacup Road, including intersections between North Ludlow Road and Bustle Highway, likely to cost many millions of dollars. My question is, has the proponent guaranteed to complete this significant upgrade of Malacup Road from North Ludlow Road to Bustle Highway before trucks start coming to this site?
Thank you. The reply, Malacup Road is categorised as suitable for use by trucks up to 19 metres in length, which is the size of truck proposed by the applicant. A review of the details provided in the application will be undertaken during the assessment process and where required, modifications will be requested. Thank you.
Thank you.
Francois Brito da Costa.
Hello, my name's Francois Brito da Costa. My locality is Stirling Estate. Please excuse my anxiety. My question is in regards to PA 208-2026, proposed industry extractive Malacup Road. We understand that this process requires flexibility. However, we fear that approving a quarry today will permanently change the identity of our area. If the council gives its approval, it sends a message that the land can be dug up. Once we allow one industry operation like this, won't it open the door for any other industry to argue they should follow? We are asking, can you guarantee that approving this development will not weaken or compromise our farming and rural landscape integrity, thereby destroying the sense of peace and rural character that is central to the value of living in Capel?
Thank you. The reply is, part of which I will respond to your preamble. It's not the Shire that is making the determination on this particular application. It is the Development Assessment Panel, which is part of state planning. 2 council members are representatives on that panel, 3 others, in other words, a total of 5. So it's not actually the council's decision that will determine the outcome on this particular proposal, just to be clear on that. So it's effectively, ultimately, subject to the staff report, which is called a reasonable assessment report. It's out of our hands, other than the fact we've got 2 council members as representative on that panel. To answer the particular question, I'm not trying to be condescending, but just to make clear that it's not our decision. The process for removing sand and limestone, as proposed by the extractive industry application, will result in modifications to the landform during and after excavation. The portion of the subject site which is proposed for extraction of material is predominantly pasture, and there are some planted non-native trees which are proposed to be removed. The tuits present on the site are outside the extraction area and are proposed to be retained with the required buffer distance to minimise any potential impact on their longevity. At the end of the extraction, the site is proposed to be returned to pasture and will be similar in appearance to the portion of the property which abuts Ludlow Road North, which has been rehabilitated following extraction of sand and limestone in the late 1970s and early 1980s. The proposal is to rehabilitate to pasture post-extraction to facilitate ongoing agricultural use. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lyndon Goldsmith. Is Lyndon Goldsmith present? I'll read the question. Lyndon Goldsmith is from Stirling Estate. Question 1. With regard to the extractive industry application PA 208-2026, how does the proposal of the Shire ensure that large truck haulage activities proposed at 20 trucks per hour that accelerate wear on the road along Malacup Road won't be passed on to local ratepayers? Who will be paying for the project, which is documented at 10 years? The reply: extractive industry land use is subject to both development approval under planning legislation and an extractive industry licence in accordance with the Shire of Capel extractive industry local law. The licence includes requirements for the road deterioration fee to be paid annually, calculated in accordance with West Australian Local Government User Guide, estimating the incremental cost impact on sealed local roads from additional freight tasks. Thank you. Matthew Blunt.
Matthew Blunt from Stirling Estate. PA 208/2026, proposal industry for Malacup Road. We must ask the Council to weigh the economic benefit of basic raw material extraction against the fundamental principles enshrined in our zoning, namely retaining a distinctive, sustainable rural landscape. Since we have 11 homes within approximately 300 to 500 metres adjacent to this site, can the Council confirm that the proposed development has accounted for more than just dust and noise? Specifically, what measures will prevent the irreversible loss of rural amenity and the character required by the priority agriculture zoning. If the operational activity fundamentally contradicts the spirit and letter of maintaining a quiet rural life, then how is it consistent with the Shire's long-term vision for its residents?
Thank you. The reply is the objectives of the priority agricultural zone in the Shire's local planning scheme is to identify land of state, regional and local significance for food production purposes, to retain priority agricultural land for agricultural purposes, to limit the introduction of sensitive land uses which may compromise existing and future potential agricultural production. The proposed extractive industry is a time-limited activity, and on completion the land will be returned to the pasture for ongoing agricultural use. The amenity issue, which has been identified as likely to impact nearby residents, will be considered and analysed as part of the assessment process, prior to the application being determined by the Development Assessment Panel. Thank you. Question 2.
Question 2, yes. Given that the subject site is specifically mapped within the Special Control Area Regional Ecological Linkages SCA8, what specific mechanism will the Council use to guarantee that this development will protect significant ecological linkages, i.e. the adjacent Class A Conservation Reserve, the Chewett Forest National Park, as the objective of the SCA8 requires? Are there any binding conditions that can be put in place to ensure that resource extraction does not compromise the very significant ecosystems this policy seeks to protect?
Thank you. Reply. Development application specifies that the Chewett trees on site will be retained, are outside the extraction area and have required buffer distances to minimise the potential for adverse impacts and welfare and longevity of the trees. The advice of the Department of Biodiversity Conservation Attractions also form part of the assessment process and included in the Responsible Authority report, which will be presented to the Development Assessment Panel for consideration and determination. Thank you.
Thank you.
Emma Dunkley.
Hi, Emma Dunkley from Stirling Estate. The SLR planning report does not clearly address nor does it explain how the presence of an occupied dwelling within the proposal area has been considered in relation to the assessment of sensitive receptors, separation distance, noise, dust, vibration and overall amenity impacts. Did the applicant of PA 208 /2026 Development Assessment Panel Extractive Industry make the Shire of Capel aware of the residents living in the dwelling within lot 167, number 365 Malacup Road?
Thank you. The reply. Shire officers are aware that the dwelling on lot 167 Malacup Road is occupied. Following public and statutory agency advertising, submissions are presented to the applicant for comment and consideration. In the event that it is identified that an application is omitted to consider factors which prevent a full assessment being undertaken, the required information can be requested of the applicant and the absence of being submitted will form part of the Responsible Authority report to the Development Assessment Panel.
Thank you, John.
Question 2.
Yes. There are significant inconsistencies across the publicly advertised documents supporting development application PA 208/2026. For example, the document set refers to different operational durations, including 5 years and 8 years, and different annual extraction rates. For example, 50,000 cubic metres and 60,000 cubic metres per annum. And in the fauna assessment made public on Monday, the 27th of July, I note a stage 2 development which has no further details given. Given these inconsistencies, will the Shire require the applicant to amend the application and supporting documentation so that all the public available documents accurately describe the proposal before it is referred to the Development Application Panel? And will the amended documents be re-advertised to provide the community with an opportunity to review and comment on the corrected information before the panel is, before the application is determined?
Thank you. The reply. The statutory process for assessing a development application being considered by the Development Assessment Panel is set out in the Planning and Development Assessment Panel's Regulation 2011 as amended. There is a provision which enables the responsible authority, the Shire, to request additional information, and there is no requirement for this to be further advertised.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
John Van Buren. Mr Van Buren does not appear to be in attendance. Reference, I'll read the question. Mr John Van Buren from Stirling Estate. Reference development application PA 208-2026. Proposed extractive industry 363 to 365 Mullicup Road, Stirling Estate. According to the proponent, it is intended that 20 50-tonne trucks will be going up and down Mullicup Road per hour. My question to the council is, does the council realise that when their opponent runs 250 trucks per day from a quarry on a quiet rural road, that effectively turns Mullicup Road into a mine haul road? Standard operating procedures for haul roads in Western Australia are speed limits of 60 km per hour or less. All vehicles must have yellow flashing lights. All vehicles must have two-way radios. No pedestrian traffic. No bicycles. No horse riding. No private vehicles. Lights must be on all the time. All persons using the road must be trained, competent and authorised. All roads are subject to weather events and may be closed during inclement weather. Does the council have any plans to mitigate these factors? The reply. All road users are required to abide by the Road Traffic Code 2000, and Mullicup Road is designated as suitable to carry 19-metre trucks. The use of the road in connection with the proposed extractive industry is supported by the Transport Impact Statement, which will be assessed as part of the preparation of the Responsible Authority report, including reference to comments received from the public and relative statutory agencies. Thank you. Let me now move on to the next question. We have Judy Hearn.
Judy Hearn from Peppermint Grove Beach. My questions tonight are just a follow-up to my submission on this budget, questions that weren't answered. Firstly, with a revised 10-year financial plan still a month or so away, do you, council or councillors, feel confident that you have been provided with and give approval to specific details of any adjustments that acceptance of this budget will necessitate to the timing, delivery or provision of council works that have been projected in the current 10-year financial plan?
The reply is yes, this was discussed during the rating budget setting workshop as a long-term financial plan and is reviewed as part of this process. Also noting that once the budget has been adopted by council, the 2027-2036 long-term financial plan will be finalised and presented to council in the August ordinary council meeting, with the agreed adjustments through the budget setting process included in the draft.
Thank you. In my original question, I did ask that if the council were aware of these changes.
I think so. Yeah. Yeah. Well, we passed. The council motion. I'm not going to digress on this too much.
Sorry. Don't defend something I'm not.
I'm not being
accusing you
defending. Do you have a supplementary question that we didn't respond to?
Sorry, no, that question was in my submission for the budget, but I'll leave that for another time. Number two, what is, if any, is the provision in this budget either for earmarked recurrent funding or additional reserve provisions to finance the Shire's coastal management responsibilities?
Thank you. The primary focus for this financial year is the finalisation, the preparation of the foreshore management plans for Dalyellup and Pepper Grove Beach. Some funding has been allocated in the 26-27 budget across the corporate business plan and natural reserve management budget, which allow the Shire to seek further funding to implement the plans. Going forward, it is recognised that there is need for a stronger focus on actually the implementation plan as detailed within the CHAR map, including discussions on how we plan for this issue into the future. Shire officers will be convening the CHAR map working group in the coming 12 months with a mind to inform budget preparations for next year. The Shire is also participating in a working group with other local governments in the southwest with coastal inundation, erosion and flooding as a key topic. The intent of this group is to share ideas and ensure consistency in approach, potentially undertake joint projects to get improved outcomes.
Thank you. That was the answer. That was the information provided to my question in the notes for the budget. But my question is there any specific financial provision, either recurrent or for reserves? And so it sounds as if not this year.
I'm not going to comment on that. I think the answer has been provided to you in adequate form, and I think it indicates that the council is comfortable there is sufficient funding to cover this forward financial year, and we'll be considering the matter in the next financial year.
Thank you.
Thank you. You did have another question.
I think I'll get it taken on notice if that's all right.
Okay, Ms Herm wants question number 3 taken on notice. Brian Hearn.
Thank you, Mr. President. Because I've circulated these, I'll give an abridged version so you can get on with your meeting.
Where are you from, Mr Hearn?
Oh, sorry, 85 Hardy Terrace, Peppermint Grove Beach.
Thank you.
6271. The first question, there are 2 versions of the long-term financial plan. That one on the webpage, that one that was approved by council. I have reconciled most of the differences, but there are differences. So the question is, when was the plan adjusted? Why was it adjusted? And who is responsible for the adjustments, considering it didn't go back to council?
The Shire Communications team has identified the need for a more comprehensive review of the document version control process for information published on the Shire's website. The long-term financial plan adopted by council at the ordinary council meeting on the 27th of August 25 is the correct version, and this document has now been updated on the website.
Oh, so the one I was reading is wrong. Okay, thank you. I'll take question 2 on notice because it's very similar to the one that's been asked, and I'll get the answer in the minutes, if that's okay.
So you're putting the balance of your questions on notice?
No, just question 2.
Question 2
I'll
taken
just,
on notice?
yeah, I'll just take it on notice. It's similar to the one my wife asked, actually, so we won't go
Make sure
through
the
that one.
minutes secretary's got that. Yes, she has.
Yep, that's okay. So
Your next question?
question 3, in the latest iteration of the 2026-27 budget for tonight's meeting, employing costs have increased by $58,949 in the space of less than 1 month. I guess the question is why?
The response, the long-term financial plan is adjusted on a year-to-year to reflect changing business needs and requirements. The proposed employee cost changes are being factored into the current draft long-term financial plan 2027 to 2036, which will be adjusted accordingly. The council have had several long-term financial plan workshops over the past financial year in preparation of the final long-term financial plan for adoption at the OCM on the August 26 meeting.
Was that the answer to question 2 or question 3?
Question 3.
The question I asked is why has the salaries, the employee cost budget in the space of 1 month from the draft budget to now increased by $58,949?
Look, if there's some confusion over both your question and the response, I will take it on notice, if that's okay.
So you're going to take that one on notice too. Okay. Got a question 4. I'll give you an abridged version again. On page 772 of your agenda, when you responded to my question 4, you gave employee costs for 26, 27, 27, 28, 28, 29, 29, 30. But in the workforce plan that you're approving tonight, the figures differ quite significantly in 2 respects. Firstly, tonight, there's a $190,000 difference between what you gave in your response and what's in the workforce plan. And the second one is that you seem to have missed 4 positions in 2930 and $400,000 in costs. So what is the reason for that?
The reply?
So I guess the question is, are you now not going to employ 4 additional staff at a cost of $412,000 in 2930 because it was left off the answer?
I'll provide the response that has been provided to me.
Sure.
The employee cost figures supplied in the 10 June 26 Special Council meeting were based on the previously endorsed Council long-term financial plan from the Ordinary Council meeting of the 27th of August 2025, which was based on the 2025-29 workforce plan with a rolling 4-year period to 2028-29, and as such did not have any workplace plan data for 29-30. The long-term financial plan is adjusted on a year-on-year basis to reflect changing business needs and requirements. The proposed employee cost changes, which are included in the recently endorsed 2026-2030 workforce plan, are being factored into the current draft long-term financial plan 2027-36 and will be adjusted accordingly. Ongoing reviews and future workforce plans will continue to incorporate sustainability considerations and ensure these are reflected in future financial modelling.
So the 2 parts of the question that weren't addressed, Mr. President, is why is the figure in tonight's budget under the workforce plan differ? Why do the figures differ than what you've given in your answer? That was the first part, which hasn't been answered. The second one is, are you now no longer employing 4 staff at a cost of $412,000 in 2930? Because that's different as well. So the workforce plan that you quoted, I'm aware of that one. The one in tonight's meeting is different. Now, which one is right and which one's wrong?
Well, if it's adopted tonight, that'll be the right one.
Well, that's going to make a mockery of your budget. Okay, I give up. Well, I'll move on. You've had this for a week. Anyway, question.
Mr. Hearn, no, please stick to the questions.
Yes.
No.
I will know.
No comment, please.
They were very simple questions, and you didn't answer them. But I'm happy with that.
I've got no further comment to make about that. I think, other than to say, if you allow me, other than to say, I think the staff have done their very best to deal with the questions. Some of them are complex in nature, and they're struggling to deal with some of the questions. But we're doing our best.
Yeah.
Now, do you wish to continue with your questions?
I do. I must be speaking in a foreign language. Anyway, I'll go to question 5.
Look, Mr. Hearn. Everyone in this room has the greatest respect for you, including myself. But please do not use slights regarding the staff and their contribution to the discussion and debate. They are doing their very best.
I apologise to the staff and councillors if I've upset them. Question 5. To understand the difference between a consultant and a contractor, consultants tell you what to do while contractors execute a specific task, e.g. build a road. Despite now asking for a 4th time, why can't the simple question, what have we budgeted to spend on consultants in 26-27 be answered? It's clear that your accounting system has an account code ending in 652 for each of the cost centres for consultant expenditure. Surely someone in the organisation can interrogate their accounting system and that code to provide the answer. Someone must know the answer, or is someone in management Or is it something that management don't want to make public, what they're spending on consultants?
The reply, the 2026-27 budget consultant expenditure is $309,110.
So why did that take four efforts?
Mr. Hearn, I'm not.
No, but seriously,
I'm
seriously,
not buying into that type of discussion. We've done
I
our
know-
best collectively to
Yes.
provide you with a response, and I would prefer you left it at that.
Yeah, I'm very happy to leave it at that, but when you have to come 4 times to get an answer, it's... But anyway, I'll move on.
Look,
I'll take
if
your
you're going
advice.
to continue in that vein, I will not continue to hear your questions.
Okay, I won't. Question 6. With regard to staff training, surely someone in the organisation must know what amount is budgeted for staff training and what the percentage of employee costs is actually spent on staff training.
The advice is 1.7%. I'm sorry, 1.78%.
And the amount?
I only have a percentage.
Oh. So can I take that on notice then?
Well, the question was, what percentage of employee costs is spent on training? That was the question.
No, it's not. It's got what amount is budgeted for staff training and what percentage of employee costs is spent
Well,
on
we've
training.
provided part of it. We'll deal with the rest on notice.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Question 7. With regard to your response on page 773 on the Capel Country Club precinct, I fully understand what will be spent on the precinct in future years, and I thank management for again providing that information, which I didn't actually ask for. It was not my intention to raise this matter, as we all know that zero is going to be spent in 26-27. But because management is progressing this point, why did they instruct an officer not to answer my question when it was initially asked? And who was responsible for doing that?
Mr. Hearn, no one has instructed me to avoid stating zero will be spent on the country club in 26-27. If you're in the belief that I said that, then I apologise, and this is a response from a staff member, so there's an apology.
Thank you. Question 8. I refer to management's response in relation to the proposed staff salary increase of 3%, where they referred to a CPI rate of 4.05%, and in particular the statement concerning that Shire staff, the ability of the Shire employees to cope with cost of living pressures. Since the CEO was making a unilateral decision on salary increases, why did the CEO, that's to approve a 3% increase, why did the CEO not approve a 4.405% increase for inside staff? What basis did the CEO use to ascertain that 3% increase was appropriate? Why did management not utilise funds previously allocated in the corporate plan in the previous year for a consultant to negotiate an EBA? Given the above, what empathy does management have to ratepayers when we're facing a rate increase of 7.83%?
The reply. The proposed employee cost changes have been factored into the current draft long-term financial plan, which will be adjusted accordingly. Assumed percentage salary increase over 10 years is currently based on the local government cost indexing of 3%. Is this enough to keep pace with actual inflation? Quite possibly no. The Shire's remuneration benchmark, prior to the changes proposed in this year's remuneration review, has us in the bottom 30% percentile of local government industry. The Shire's inside staff do not have a current enterprise bargaining agreement. There is a project proposed in the Shire's corporate business plan for the future to explore viability of moving towards an industrial agreement for internal staff. Due to staffing challenges in the Shire's people and culture team and the previously identified instability of our workforce, this has not been progressed to an industrial agreement. The Shire People and Culture team are confident this project can be commenced utilising internal resources in 2026-27.
Thank you. Question 9, a question on the June 30, 26 financial report. Who is responsible for the Shire having $11.5 million invested at call at 30 June at 4.15% when term deposits are readily available at interest rates in excess of 5%? At a minimum, the interest rate lost by the Shire is at least $315 a day or close to $100,000 per annum. Surely we can do better. It's not that hard to manage your cash flow. And I'm sure we're not spending $11.15 million in July. Well, we didn't, because I know we didn't.
July 2026 has so far seen $5.64 million drawn down from cash management account. $2.5 million was invested in a term deposit in early July, with the balance of funds being used to pay creditors, loans and salaries. The changeover of financial years will see a continued drawdown of funds until adoption of the budget and subsequent issuing of rates. The expected cash inflow of rates occurs when they are first issued in August and then towards the first instalment date in September. Based on that previous information, that is expected that 41% of rates will be paid by the first instalment date.
Thank you. And finally, the positive. Finally, I trust that the Shire of Capel, with its new management team, can adopt a more positive approach, that when questions are asked, appreciate they are asked with a positive intention to actually try to explain to and work with ratepayers, to learn from ratepayers and to address the many critical financial and servicing issues that we all face with.
Thank you for your statement, Mr Hearn. The Shire's management team consistently strives to adopt a positive and informative approach to providing information to residents through public question time. And I would further comment that the mandated limit on question time is a minimum of 15 minutes. We've gone now for nearly 45. I think this Shire, collectively, through the staff and the councillors and the CEO, have been very, very accommodating of the request for residents on public notice questions to respond to them as best as we can. We don't always get it right or perfect, but we do our very, very best. And I think it can be said that our policy up to this point has been very, very open. We will be adopting a different policy into the near future, and that will be published on our website. There will be a limitation on questions, the time allowed, and the time given over in the council meeting to questions. But thank you for your attendance tonight, and hopefully we've addressed most of your concerns. Thank you. Now, we dealt with this.
Yes, yeah, we've dealt with that before. Yep.
So we don't need to deal with it?
No, because we've already voted on it.
Declarations of interest. We have one declaration from Councillor Mogg. You got it there, Brian? And it is Councillor Mogg has declared an impartiality interest in respect to item 16.2, adoption of the annual budget and differential rates for 2026-27. The nature of the interest is that Councillor Mogg is a member of the CWA, which is listed in this item for funding. Thank you. Notice of items to be discussed behind closed doors. There's no items to be discussed behind closed doors this evening. Confirmation of minutes, item 8. The minutes of the ordinary meeting of council, 8.1, the minutes of the ordinary meeting of council 24th of June 26 can be confirmed as a true and correct record. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Hastie moved. Can I have a seconder? Councillor Noonan. Any speakers against? Right, a reply?
No, not at all, thank you.
Can I put the motion? Those in favour? That's carried unanimously. Item 8.2, the minutes of the special council meeting, 10th of June 2026, be confirmed as a true and correct record, with the correction noted in SC 2026-11, the procedural motion, council decision 6.7. The resolution was incorrectly announced as unanimous. However, Councillor McCleary and Councillor Montgomery voted against the procedural motion. This did not affect the outcome of the decision. The published minutes have been updated to reflect this correction. Can I have a mover for the minutes, please? Councillor Sharp. Seconder. Councillor McCleary. Councillor Sharp. Any speakers against? Right of reply. Put the motion. Declare that carried unanimously. Item 8.3. Yeah, sure. The minutes of the special council meeting, 17th of June 2026, be confirmed as a true and correct record. Could I have a mover, please? Councillor McCleary and seconder, Councillor Montgomery? No? Okay. Seconder? Councillor Hastie? Thank you. Move Councillor McCleary, second Councillor Hastie. Councillor McCleary. Any speakers against? I'll put the motion. Right of reply. Declare that carried. Thank you. Item 9.1, Shire President's Activity Report. We did discuss this prior to the meeting. I'll leave that for those who wish to read these matters in minutiae to deal with and assess. Thank you. But nonetheless, to say that all councillors, including myself, were very busy during the past month. Item 10, petitions, deputations and presentations. There is nil. Item 11, motions of which previous notice has been given. There is none. Questions on which previous notice has been given. There is none. Item 13.1, Walgett Local Government Convention 2026 Annual General Meeting. I would like to invite councillors to move a procedural motion to deal with this. Can I have someone to move a procedural motion that Standing Order Local Law 15.21 Part 10 debate of motions be suspended to allow discussion? Moved Councillor Shiano. Second, Deputy Shire President, Councillor Mobb. Can I put that to the vote? Speakers against? All in favour? Declare that carried. For those in the gallery, this is now an open discussion. We follow courtesies, but we actually have not a formal mover of motions, what have you. In order to determine the attendees at the Walgett Convention, we have 5 nominees and there's 3 available spaces, the 4th being gifted to the Shire President, and I'll invite the candidates to speak to their particular benefit of attending. So who would like to go first? Starting with Councillor Voyers from that end of the table.
Yes, short and sharp. So my nomination is, I'm new to council, elected by the community back in October, and have not attended a previous meeting. And I feel this would be beneficial to my growth and professional development in the world of being a councillor for the Shire of Capel. And I think that the benefit would be to the community for a councillor that's been further educated in relation to how things work, and to make sure, therefore, I can do the best for those that voted for me in the first place. Thank you.
Councillor Shiano.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would just add, I think, and I completely concur with Councillor Voyers' comments, and I encourage Council to think about the importance of ensuring that people who haven't had this opportunity get this opportunity, and also balancing that with the people who have the connections and the networks that can obviously advance the Shire in these types of opportunities and situations. And I think that from my perspective, having been several times and always looking forward to seeing new councillors take this opportunity. My connections over the last decade within the local government sector provide the Shire with great advantage when we do go to these types of events and conferences. And so, look, I have left my name in the race. I said to councillors that I would be interested in the opportunity again, but didn't want to cause a ballot. Obviously, there's quite a few names up there, so I thought only right I'd probably just stay in the race for this one. But I think make a decision based on ensuring that the people who need to have a go, and the people who can deliver the most for the Shire in these situations are there to support them. And it is a fantastic opportunity. So, of any of the 5 on the list that do get to attend, it is a great opportunity and make the most of it.
Thank you, Councillor Sciama. Councillor McCleary.
Thank you, Mr Chair. What can I say? I've been once in the 15 years that I've been on council, so I've been sitting on the sidelines a bit. I got a benefit out of the last time I went, and I think, there's an opportunity for all to go at some stage in their term on council, and I think that's important as we move forward. I suppose it's not really a vote for... I think I've been long enough with the experience and the networking that I've done around the area that I can bring back some benefits to council from that conference.
Thank you, Councillor McCleary. Councillor Hastie.
Look, I believe that all the training one can get, especially as a novice councillor, is a bonus to all of us that are first-term councillors. So my nomination is so as I can learn more and get more experience from other councillors that we may meet. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hastie. Councillor Noonan.
Thank you, Mr President. I've been to the Walga conference once in 7 years and received a great benefit, from that experience. So enjoyed it immensely. The discussions that people have, not just with contractors and potential contractors, but other councillors from other shires, the connections that you can make, and realising what people do in various different places and how that might be applied here, and things that we do well that can help others. So I would very much like to attend as well. Thank you.
The way in which this will work, you put the 3 names in, and then the 3 most numerous candidates will be the ones selected. Should there be a tie, I think there's some suggested methodology, but I can't remember what it is. But I also think that it was also been suggested that the councillor who achieves the most votes also becomes the voting delegate, and that the other 2 remaining councillors become the proxies. So It's the lead and duty of announcing the successful candidates is the Councillor Voyers, Councillor Noonan and Councillor McCleary. Councillor Voyers, achieving the most primary votes, has become the voting member, and Councillor Noonan and Councillor McCleary are the proxies for the event. So thank you, councillors. Can I have a motion to move out of and resume standing orders? Move Councillor Noonan, seconded Deputy Shire President Councillor Mogg. Do you wish to speak to that, Councillor Noonan? Any against? I'll put the motion. Declare that carried unanimously. We now move to the substantive motion in effect, which is the offer recommendation 13.3, that Council nominate Shire President and Councillor Voyers as voting delegates for the Walga Annual General Meeting to be held on the 17th of September 2026. Nominate Councillor Noonan as a proxy for the Shire President and Councillor McCleary as a proxy for Councillor Voyers in the event that either councillor referred to in point 1 above is unable or unwilling to vote. Authorise the voting delegates and proxies referred to in point 1 and 2 above attend the Walga Local Government Convention 2026 and pay all costs for registration, travel, accommodation and meals in accordance with council policy attendance at events. Can I have a mover for that motion, please? Move Deputy Shire President Councillor Mogg and seconded Councillor Sharp. Councillor Mogg?
Reserve, thank you.
Councillor Sharp?
Thank you and congratulations to all those that are attending. It's a wonderful event.
Speakers against? Right of reply? I'll put the vote. Those in favour? Declare that carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. Item 13.2, Chief Executive Officer, proposed Key Performance Agreement 2026-27. The recommendation that Council approve the CEO Performance Agreement 2026-27 as detailed in attachment 13.2.1 be signed and executed by the Shire President and the Chief Executive Officer and authorise the publication of the CEO Performance Criteria Agreement 2026-27. Can I have a mover for the motion, please? Move Councillor McCleary. Seconded Councillor Hastie. Councillor McCleary.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is one of those important things that, as councillors, we need to select these, give a bit of guidance to the CEO, which then feeds down through the business of council to the exec staff and then eventually down to the staff. So I think we've got a good set of performance agreement things and some KPIs in there that we had a bit of a discussion about. Just need to keep that in mind for the following year when we review all these things to go forward with, and where things are going smoothly and where things might need a bit of a touch up, and it kind of helps. It's a two-way stretch. It's us giving guidance and the feedback that we want from the Shire.
Councillor Hastie.
Look, I'm going to concur with Councillor McCleary. We can certainly look at it again next year, thanks.
Any speakers against? Is there any councillors who wish to contribute anything more further to the discussion? Then Councillor McCleary, right of reply. Waived. I'll put to the vote. Those in favour? Declare that carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 14.1, Amendment 4 to Local Planning Scheme Number 8, Final Endorsement, Lot 49, Capel Drive, Capel. Offers a recommendation 14.1. I'll read the first bit. That Council, in accordance with Regulations 1550 in brackets 2 of the Planning and Development Local Planning Schemes Regulation 215 notes the submission received in respect to the amendment number 4 of the Shire of Capel Local Planning Scheme number 8 and endorses the response to the submissions contained in the report. Is there any councillors who wish to ask questions of staff on this one? Okay. Yeah. Can I have a mover, please? Move Deputy Shire President Councillor Mogg, seconded Councillor Noonan. Councillor Mogg.
Thank you. Move the motion as read, and please see this come forward so that action can happen at that space. Thank you.
Councillor Noonan.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's good to see some more lots becoming available in Capel and that they still maintain the amenity of that area.
Any speakers against? Any councillors who wish to speak for the proposal? Councillor McCleary.
Thanks, you, Mr. President, and thank to the two councillors that moved and got this motion on the table. It does increase a little bit of density. There's still larger blocks. It probably offers something in the future where we might see a few more of these coming through. I don't think there's anything significant in this submission and change to the planning that requires us to do too much more. And I commend, I thank the planning team for bringing this to us and doing a diligent job on the assessment of it.
Further speakers in support? Right, a reply. Councillor Mogg?
No, thank you.
I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Declare that carried unanimously. Item 14.2, Amendment 6 to Local Planning Scheme number 8, request to initiate. The officer's recommendation, 14.2, that Council, in accordance with Section 75 of the Planning and Development Act 2005, resolve to initiate Amendment number 6 to the Shire of Capel Local Planning Scheme number 8, as shown in attachment 14.2.1, to amend Part Lot 9003 on DP 429430, Wake Drive, Dalyalup, from public open space reserved to urban development zone. Amend the scheme accordingly. It's worth saying, and I'll add a bit further more to this. This amendment is an amendment to correct an administrative error in Part 2A. It is an amendment to the scheme map that is consistent with the structure plan or local development plan that has been approved under the scheme for the land to which the amendment relates, if the scheme currently includes zones of all types that are outlined in the plan. Can I have a mover, please? Move the Councillor McCleary, seconded Councillor Shiano. Councillor McCleary.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Councillor Shiano. This is just a simple correction to, I probably shouldn't use the word ridiculous, little piece of land that wasn't really going to work, especially when it's near bushland, and BALs would have had a lot of impact and nowhere to safely build something without that fire restriction in there. Yeah, again, it's just tidying up things. The colouring of the maps will be corrected and we'll move forward with it.
Councillor Shiano.
Thank you, Mr. President. Look, I don't think I've got much more to add. It is a very small administrative error that would have only been picked up by a consultant when it came to the time to develop the subdivision plan, who would have immediately seen that the structure plan was slightly different to the local planning scheme. It's only it's a 500 and something square metre block parcel of land that if you're not too able to different shades of green that are very close in shade, it is a very easy mistake to make. So look, I don't think there's any reason not to just initiate this very minor amendment to the scheme.
Thank you, Councillor Shiano. Any speakers against? Any councillors wish to contribute further? Councillor Noonan.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just to make the point, it's 544 square metres, but that the developer has, without this block, they have, in the report that we have, the developer has met their public open space commitment. So that's, we haven't really got a leg to stand on to try and not pass it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further speakers? Councillor McCleary, right to reply. Can I put the motion? Those in favour? Declare that carried unanimously. 14.3, endorsement of the Integrated Growth Framework Plan. Officer's recommendation 14.3 is that note the submissions received during the public advertising period is contained in the appendix 14.3.1. Endorse the Integrated Growth Vision Framework and Plan, including the Place Design Guide, Master Plan concepts and implementation matrix as contained in the appendixes. Endorse the proposed prioritisation framework criteria and weighting as contained within this report, and authorise the CEO to use the framework to guide the preparation of staged delivery and advocacy plan. Can I have a mover, please? Move Deputy Shire President Councillor Mogg, seconder. Councillor Noonan, Councillor Mogg.
Thank you, President. I move the motion as read and very excited that this has come forward, that we adopt it, endorse it. A lot of work has gone into it, and I'd just like to remind everybody how important it is to engage in these surveys and community engagement sessions to have your input, because this is what the decision-making process is based on in your little local community where you live in the Shire. And thank you for those who did engage and put your information forward. Thank you.
Councillor Noonan.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yes, I fully concur with Councillor Mogg. This is a very large document, or series of documents, very, very well prepared. It's great that the communities, the various different communities, have had the opportunity to make their submissions, and it's also very interesting to note that the different communities do have distinct views of themselves, and that this document seeks to protect those ambitions that the various different parts of the Shire have. I think that this document should be compulsory reading for anyone who, in the future, who aspires to a position on council, to know the Shire. So I thank the staff very much for all of the work in putting this together. Well done.
Any speakers against? Any further contribution from councillors? Councillor McCleary.
Through you, Mr. President, I firstly got a question. How often will this document be reviewed going forward?
I'll direct that inquiry to the Acting Director of Community and Planning and Development.
Thank you. Yes, through the chair. I would see that a lot of these things, being that they are long-term, would not need regular review, but there is components to the document that could be updated to reflect changes that we have with development that is in the Shire, or even changes in our strategic planning framework as well, as we update that. So the document itself can be moving over time, but the big component of it, and where it will need regular looking at, is as we cycle through the implementation plan and we hit some of those milestones or start to tick off some of the jobs, and we keep going back and reviewing how relevant they are to what we're looking to do.
The CEO would like to make a comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Through the chair, and just following on from what our director said, which is quite right. Just reflecting back to when this document was developed, it was developed in conjunction with a major review of our strategic community plan. Now that's a 10-year document, and probably what we did want to achieve when we developed the integrated growth framework and the strategic community plan was that there were synergies between the two. So we knew what the aspirations were through the community that they wanted us to deliver, and then part of that delivery would be implemented through and recognised through the integrated growth framework. So I would also see that as we review the strategic community plan, we would review the effectiveness of the implementation plan of the integrated growth. Sorry, not the IGFP. Effectively, there's too many acronyms with these strategic documents, because I think with the strategic community plan, you have to do a minor review every 2 years to say what we've delivered, and then a major review after every 4 years. And some of the delivery of what we've done to obviously support community aspiration of what they wanted us to do will be the delivery through the integrated growth framework. So the synergies of that review through the entire integrated planning and reporting framework. So I could see it, I can see it fold into the entire strategic suite for the organisation. Thank you.
Councillor Shiano? Oh, I'm
thanks for those answers, and it gives me faith in that we've got some chances for review. So what we've got to remember as councillors that the community will change. We've got an evolving community, and in particularly the high growth areas like Dalyella, new people attend that, so they might have a change in aspirations that we need to address. As far as the basis of the document, it's good. It's guidance, that's what it's about. It gives a plan for a whole lot of things, and it gives the current aspirations of the existing ratepayers and what they'd like to see going forward. But I'd say over time and new generations, and we might move away from an ageing area that tends to get younger people and their visions. We shouldn't neglect that sort of format. And I also note that some of the things that were in the growth vision, there's stuff happening in Capel that wasn't really in those visions, but it's giving guidance to that already.
Councillor Shiano?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Look, I just first want to just talk a little bit about the plan, and then I do have several questions, mainly about the implementation and the design guide. I guess this obviously has been a very long process, and councillors would remember the place planning that had happened several years ago, and how that has worked into the integrated growth plan. And I think, to reiterate Councillor Noonan's comments earlier, I think this actually is a very inspiring document to read, in the fact of it gives you a visual representation of what we hope for our future communities to look like. And it's sometimes hard to look at a structure plan and see a community rather than see a subdivision. But where my questions probably lie, and this leads into the preamble to those questions, is around how we facilitate those design guides and those master plan concepts from a development perspective, because a lot of these concepts and guides predominantly apply to privately held lands and privately held developments. And so we're limited in the way of how we effectively enforce the implementation of those guides and other things. And I think a really good example at the moment is that this process, and I think the first time we saw the Capel master plan concept was a couple of years ago. And even in that time since then, we have an approved development assessment panel application or development application for the precinct now across the road in regards to the tavern. Now, those two are completely not inconsistent. Inconsistent's not the right word, because that implies that they can't exist together. But the reality is those are two completely different proposals and two completely different views of what that space would become. And so, that it happened in the time before this current master plan, and the master plan in this document is essentially out of date in that perspective, that site is set for development. It's been approved. Obviously, it's not happened yet. There's still many other, building permits and other things that need to be assigned before that can occur. But it raises a question around, when you're dealing with, there's a lot in the implementation plan around what we as a local government do from perspective of our facilities and our parks and gardens and generally our sort of structure plans and other things. Where do the guidelines, and now leading into the questions through the chair, how do we, from a statutory perspective, enforce the guidelines? So will part of that implementation now be that we bring back planning policies to council? And then what is the relationship between those design guides and, say, major developments, such as the development projects that go through the development assessment panel? Are they required to follow those design guides? What essentially do we need to do now as part of the implementation? And I can't quite see it in the implementation matrix that's here, which is very detailed, but like I said, probably focuses a bit more on the projects and facilities that we want to deliver. So the question, to be concise around the question, is what statutory documents do we now need to develop to enforce the design guide, and what statutory standing do they have outside of the Shire, as in development assessment panel and other planning frameworks?
So you addressed the question through me to the Director, Isabel.
Thank you. Yes, through the chair. I would love to speak to that one because I'm very excited about doing that work. So there's two mechanisms that we would be considering around giving some robustness to getting outcomes as shown in the documents for private landholding. So as you covered on Shire facilities or looking at our own streetscapes, we are in control of the outcomes on those. So those ones are a little bit easier in how we deliver that. But private land is hard. So the mechanisms there that you have are the local planning scheme and having development provisions by zone or by area that require main streets to present in a certain way. Our current local planning scheme does not require that of any of our main streets, and that is probably the most robust way to require those design outcomes to be delivered. The alternative, or in conjunction with, is around local planning policies and having specific policy areas over focus areas that we want to control more of the design outcomes. So I envision that we would have a combination thereof for the purpose that the policy gives us a bit of flexibility in being able to negotiate outcomes on design with applicants. So we can do that through our own negotiations, but we also have the joint design review panel that we run major applications through to get feedback on design from architects and urban designers and everyone else that we don't have in-house. But then having the fallback to what is required of our local planning scheme will give that more robustness in going to development assessment panels on what our actual requirements are. So policies are just that, they are guidance, whereas the scheme is quite stringent around you must do this if that's how we want to word and if that's how we want to approach those outcomes. So I see it being a combination of both, of being reflected through scheme amendments, which would look to impose some of those on major centres, and then local planning policies to back that up with detail, which would draw on some of the detail that comes out of the Integrated Growth Framework Plan.
Councillor Sharma.
Yeah, thank you. Look, that's a very good response, and I think for me, it addresses the two mechanisms, and amendments to the local planning scheme are quite significant tasks as well, as we know. So I guess just more in detail to that is, what is the implementation plan there? So have we identified what scheme amendments we need to initiate in that respect? And then do we have a bit of a timeline around those planning policies, which are essentially probably the simpler mechanism to implement, but probably don't have the same standing outside of Shire's decisions? And obviously we need to have strong policies and guidelines so that when inevitably people want to challenge us at the State Administrative Tribunal or use the Development Assessment Panel, that these things are upheld by organisations other than our own. So is there a strategy, is there an implementation plan for that component of the work at the moment?
I can't answer it obviously directly, but I'll direct the question through to the Director.
Thank you. Yes, through the chair. It is part of what I have identified for the corporate business plan over the next 2 financial years to start, so the planning component of the implementation of the integrated growth framework plan. So that would be the goal, that it would be over those periods of time. And I think we probably still need to look at further consultation with yourselves and with the community around the policy versus scheme outcomes and how we want to approach that. But there is an opportunity for us to be able to get planning policies in place first, because that is something that we are entirely in control of the process, and then be able to prepare the scheme amendments from there. But thankfully, the amount of work and detail that has gone into this suite of documents will make preparing that scheme amendment and what the requirements should be, with a lot of support for why the outcomes are going to be a good thing for our centres, will make the case for us to be able to put that to the Commission.
Councillor Shiano?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. I'm very satisfied with those answers, and I just think in closing that discussion as well, I again reiterate the fact that this is a very detailed document, and I think, is a fantastic piece of reading in the way that it visualises what we want our communities to look like in the future. And I think the way that Hatch and the Shire have captured the amenity and characteristics of each of those communities is really important as well. And so, yeah, look, I can't more happy to commend the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Shiano. Any speakers for or against? Councillor Host here.
Look, I think Ms Fry needs to be congratulated on this document. It's very detailed, and it gives us some framework to follow on. Thank you very much for the document, Ms Fry.
Speakers against? No speakers against. I'd like to make a comment, if you'll indulge me. When I first was elected to council, this was a work in progress, and I must say I thought of it as not being particularly relevant. But I've come to realise, sorry, wait till I finish. But I come to realise it's a very, very good document, and what has particularly pleased me is the way that it subtly dissects the various locations in the Shire and addresses them as separate entities in terms of the design guide implementations. I think Councillor Shiano's questions about how you enforce this and the responses from the director are very meaningful. In the end, if we were going to, for example, have a matter before the DAP, if we can't back it up with something in the local plan, the local planning instrument, and rather than just an opinion, then we are much disadvantaged if we want to ensure compliance with what our design guides and our TAM planning schemes are. So I'm going to support the motion, and anyway, I'll leave it to others. So write a reply. Councillor Mogg?
Reserve, thank you.
I'll put the motion. Those in favour? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Infrastructure management reports, bushfire risk management plan. The recommendation 15.1, Council endorses Shire of Capel's bushfire risk management plan 2026-28. Governor mover, please. Move Deputy Shire President Councillor Mogg. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Voyers. Councillor Mogg.
Thank you, President. I move the motion as read and thank those who have put the work in to present this, and I take their word for it and happy to endorse it. Thank you.
Councillor Voyers.
Yes, I agree. This is obviously a very important plan itself, and in order to protect our community, this is exactly what we need. Thank you.
Thank you. Any speakers against? Any further speakers for the motion? Then I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Carried unanimously. But I apologise, I didn't give Councillor Mogg the right to reply. Thank you, Councillor Mogg, for your indulgence. 15.2, Capel Bushfire Brigade Facility Replacement. 15.2, the council support the replacement of the Capel Bushfire Brigade facility based on the following: concept design and estimate per attachment 1, accept funding by the state government if successful in the grant application, provide the sum of $400,000 for earthworks and civil works in the 26-27 budget, propose to relocate the Capel Bushfire Brigade to the Earl Reserve 7579, assessment number A3190 on the southeast corner with a footprint approximately 2,000 square metres. Can I have a mover for the motion, please? Hang on. Councillor Mogg. Councillor Mogg, you've been very busy reading the business paper so thoroughly. It's extraordinary. Thank you. And move Councillor Sharp. Second to Councillor Sharp, I'm sorry. Councillor Mogg.
Thank you, President. Very excited and pleased to move the motion as read, and that this has come forward to Council. Capel Bushfire Brigade is in Capel. Capel's the main town I look at for the Shire of Capel, and their facility does need upgrading, and I'm just very pleased to see this come forward. Thank you.
Councillor Sharp.
Yes, I'd have to concur with Deputy President Mogg. We all know, living in a massively high risk area, that every bushfire brigade in our region is of vital importance for the protection of our communities, and this is really wonderful that this is coming up. Yep, thank you.
Thank you. Any speakers against? Any further speakers for? Councillor McCleary.
Thank you, Mr. President. I note in the motions that it's accept funding by the state government if successful in the grant application. So I'm assuming that we don't have the money yet. So it's a question. Okay, so this is actually dependent on that outcome. But I will say that from what happened in Jalora when we got the upgrade there, it's been quite fantastic, and it's going to be great for the community here by getting another upgrade and a facility that works in accordance with the modern times that we have. And yeah, it's an ongoing process, so let's hope we're successful in the grant.
Thank you. Any further speakers for or against? Then right of reply, Councillor Mogg.
Reserve, thank you.
I'll put the motion. Those in favour? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Extractive industry licence, lot 103 Boynup Road West. Office recommendation 15.3. The council approve the extractive industry licence subject to conditions as contained in the appendix 15.3.3 pursuant to Development Assessment Panel approval dated 10th of February 25 for an extractive industry licence, extractive industry at lot 103 Boynup Road West Stratham, in accordance with the Shire of Capel Extractive Industry Local Law 2016, and authorise the Acting Director Infrastructure Management to sign and administer the extractive industry licence requirements of the associated conditions. Could I have a mover, please? Councillor Shiano, seconder. Councillor Hastie. Councillor Shiano.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll just note that so this extractive industry has been already approved by the Development Assessment Panel. So on this particular occasion, we're only approving the licence subject to conditions. And so for those who aren't aware, essentially the process is, and it's quite unique to extractive industries, where the matter is that the Development Assessment Panel approves the application with conditions, but it's actually still a requirement of the local government to issue the licence. So on this occasion, this one has already been approved previously, and so now it's time for council to approve the licence, which, in my opinion, given that the conditions have already been met and that the application has been approved by the Development Assessment Panel, there's essentially no reason to not approve this particular extractive industry on Boynup West Road.
Thank you, Councillor Shiano. Councillor Hastie.
I had a look at the 103 Boynup West Road is today, when I was coming back from the post office, I have no problem with extractive industry licence being granted there. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hastie. Any speakers against? Any further speakers for? Councillor Montgomery? Oh, sorry, Councillor McCleary.
The Mr. President will have to check your glasses in the near future. But yeah, look, I was on the DAP when this was approved, and a lot of emphasis was put on the conditions in there. What the extractive industry licence puts the onus back out there. There's different players in this. Some of it we're involved with, some of it DWER's involved with it, and health department. So there's a lot of controls in there. My understanding is there's audit documents that they'll have to do during the process. Some of the biggest concerns in extractive industry, we would have heard in the question time of dust, noise, proximity to buildings. This one probably doesn't have those same impacts, but it's very important that we listen to community when the issues arise and pursue those through the conditions and the controls that we have under an extractive industry licence.
Thank you, Councillor McCleary. Any further speakers for or against? Then I'll write a reply. Councillor Shiano, waive write a reply. I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Councillor Sharp votes against. Councillor Noonan, Councillor Hastie, Councillor Mogg doesn't support it, votes against. Councillor Ferguson, Councillor Montgomery, Councillor McCleary, Councillor Shiano and Councillor Voyers. That is carried. And Councillor Mogg and Sharp vote against. Thank you. That's carried. Item 16.2, adoption of the annual budget and differential rates 2026-27. Oh, I'm sorry. Somehow I skipped one. So, item 16.1, Corporate Business Plan 2025-29, fourth quarter, quarter 4, year end reporting 3rd of June 26. Council notes the final quarterly Q4 progress report, 1 July 25 to 3rd of June 26, and the end of year outcome achievement summary, for 25-26 of the Shire of Capel's Corporate Business Plan 25-29. Could I have a mover, please? Move Councillor Mogg, Deputy Shire President Councillor Mogg. Could I have a seconder, please? Councillor Montgomery. Thank you, Councillor Montgomery. Councillor Mogg.
Thank you, President. I move the motion as read.
Councillor Montgomery. Any speakers against? There being no speakers against, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Right of reply, sorry. Right of reply, Councillor Mogg.
Reserve, thank you.
I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Declare that carried unanimously. Thank you. We move now on to item 16.2, adoption of annual budget and differential rates for 26-27. I should have mentioned this earlier, but I'll take, if you allow me, there is the prospect of moving the first 5 officer recommendations in Globo, which will require absolute majority. And then there is the option of moving the last 3 recommendations in Globo, which do not require an absolute majority. So is there a mover to move it in Globo, or you prefer to move it as individual items?
Can you just say en bloc?
So I need a motion for en bloc voting. Did I have a motion for the en bloc voting? Councillor Hastie, is there a seconder for en bloc voting? Councillor Noonan, those in favour? Oh, do you want to speak to that, Councillor Hastie? Councillor Noonan?
Oh, just to make the point that we have had the opportunity to read through all of these different programs, and I think we've been briefed very well on all of them, so I'm happy to move them all together.
Any speakers against? And I think Councillor Shiano has a point.
Can I just raise a point of order and clarification under 9.2B? There was a interest disclosed earlier in the meeting. Can I just confirm? So in adopting any group of recommendations together, we have to give consideration to which require adoption by absolute or special majority, which is why we need two different en bloc for this situation, because some require absolute, and B is in which an interest has been disclosed. Can I just confirm? I remember there was an interest disclosed by Councillor Mogg. What item was that? Yep, so that was on, so in theory, under 9.2B, the recommendation that relates to can't be included in the adoption of recommendations en bloc, and so would have to be dealt with separately.
The advice from the CEO is that we're not entirely certain of your point, but in order to ensure that there is no misunderstanding or issue with the voting outcome, we will take the items individually on a one-by-one basis. So with all due respect to those movers who moved the en bloc, I will now pass on that motion and we move on to the item number.
Mr. President, on that point of order, it only requires the item that specifically relates to, which is the budget.
I understand that, Councillor Shiano, but rather than confuse myself and the rest of the meeting, we'll just do them one by one. Okay? Do you have any problem with that?
No, that's fine. It's compliant.
Okay.
Thank you.
So the officer recommendation number 1, the council having considered 30 submissions received in accordance with section 6.36 of the Local Government Act 1995 and in accordance with 6.32 of the Local Government Act 1995 adopts the following differential minimum and specified area rates for the 30th of June 2027. Could I have a mover for that motion, please? Move Councillor Shiano, seconded Councillor Noonan. Councillor Shiano.
Thank you very much. I'm going to keep this process reasonably quick because I've just made the evening a little bit longer. But I will just address that obviously this is the rating strategy that was endorsed by council at a special council meeting. It has been out for public comment as per the statutory requirements for public advertising. The rating strategy that has come back to council for endorsement obviously doesn't have any changes to the rating strategy, and so that continues the 6% that was endorsed. Having looked through the 30 submissions that were made during that period, I definitely think it is really important, and it reiterates the importance of council working through its process before those meetings to identify potentially what that strategy would be, because majority of those submissions related to a rating strategy that was not adopted, but was initially advertised as part of that initial meeting. So while I think there is still much merit in some of the general commentary from those submissions, council is asked to adopt essentially the same rating schedule that it adopted at special council meeting, and I'll reframe the rest of my comments around the budget and other things to the later recommendations.
Any speakers against? I'm sorry, the seconder, Councillor Noonan.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Councillor Shiano, for making that reference to the submissions that people made. And I agree, I read through the 60 pages worth of submissions, and you're quite right. A lot of them did relate to the situation that was initially advertised. I would also like to commend the Shire officers for the very comprehensive responses that they made to all of those submissions. And my hope is that everyone who received that response will read it carefully, will share that with their neighbours and friends and other people in the Shire, so that a better understanding of the way rates are determined and the importance of finding equity, fairness in the distribution of rates and is carried out in the way it should be. So I thank the Shire officers for that. Thank you.
Any speakers against? Councillor Montgomery.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to briefly explain why I will not be supporting the adoption of the annual budget and differential rates tonight. At our June meeting, I moved an amendment for a lower rate increase because I believed it provided a better balance between the financial needs of the Shire and the pressures facing our community. I was disappointed that my amendment was not supported by Council, as I genuinely believed it provided a fairer outcome for our ratepayers. However, I respect that decision, and my position on this has not changed. I want to acknowledge the significant work undertaken by our CEO and staff in preparing this budget. I understand the challenges involved in balancing rising costs, maintaining services and ensuring the Shire remains financially sustainable into the future. I also understand that some level of rate increase is necessary. However, I believe we have a responsibility to ensure the increase we are asking of our community is no greater than absolutely necessary. Many families, retirees and local businesses continue to feel the pressure of increased living costs. As we have entered the new financial year, residents are now seeing further increases through insurance, licences, registrations, utilities and other annual expenses, on top of the costs they have already been managing. For many households, their rates notice is one of the largest bills they will receive in a year. Every additional increase has a real impact. I appreciate that this budget requires difficult decisions and that there are competing priorities to consider. However, I remain of the view that a lower rate increase would have been a fairer outcome for our community. At the end of the day, I still believe we should be putting people before plans. We need to ensure that the burden we place on our ratepayer is no greater than absolutely necessary. For those reasons, I will not be supporting the recommendation before us tonight. Thank you.
Any further speakers for? Any further speakers against? Councillor McCleary, I didn't catch you, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Councillor Montgomery. I was kind of wondering whether you were going to do an amendment in that process of there, and I'm of the opinion that based on, and I was waiting for the July financials to come in, and I see the employee costs are substantially underspent, and I'm not sure that we're going to get to the same outcome. So I've been kind of thinking about an amendment to drop it to 5% in this process, but I'll leave it at that, just as a thought at this stage. So if this motion doesn't get up, I'll put that one forward.
So you're foreshadowing a motion, are you?
Yeah, foreshadowing.
Okay. Further speakers for or against? Councillor Hastie.
Mr. President, firstly, I thank the CEO and the Shire staff for the work that has gone into preparing this year's budget. However, I will be voting against the proposed 6% rate increase. When I stood for election, I committed to keeping rate as low as reasonably possible while ensuring the Shire continued to provide essential services. I intend to honour that commitment. I acknowledge that Council faces increasing costs, but I believe a lower increase such as 5.5% could have been achieved as a responsible budget while providing some relief to our ratepayers during the ongoing cost of living pressures. My vote is not a criticism of the staff or the budget itself. It simply reflects my belief that a lower rate increase was achievable and is consistent with the commitment I made to the community during my election campaign. For those reasons, I'll be voting against the proposed 6% rate increase. Thank you.
Any further speakers for? Any further speakers against? I would like to speak for the motion. We've agonised over this over two special council meetings. We've also had the matter discussed comprehensively in briefings regarding long-term financial plan and budget considerations. The community response since the adoption of the exhibition of the budget as we have in the business paper before us several weeks ago has been minimal to almost non-existent. So I think the community generally thinks we've arrived at a reasonably good spot, and I would like to support the motion. So I give the Councillor Shiana, the right of reply.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, and I get to have the last say, so I'm grateful for that. And I'll be accepting thanks in cartons, particularly Swanee D, for those who have just realised that if we had moved this on block, we wouldn't actually have had the opportunity to have this discussion or propose these amendments. So I'm no longer very apologetic for dragging this part of the meeting on, but essentially I understand the sentiment of councillors and their considerations in coming to their conclusions tonight on this item. The reality of the situation that we have in front of us at the moment is that this council has endorsed a rating strategy for advertising. It has been advertised. The draft budget has been finalised according to that advertised rating strategy. And tonight, after receiving submissions, of which those submissions predominantly relate to a decision that council did resolve, and I think it is important to recognise that the majority of these submissions regarding the rates were about the changes to rural residential, which this council determined not to implement at its special council meeting, and so has done that in part to the desires of the community. And now what we have is a draft budget in front of us, which we are going to deal with next, and the rating strategy that sits alongside that. And I was just quickly trying to pull up the reserves within that budget, probably to address some of the commentary around the staffing, the cost of staffing. And yes, there, as has been noted several times, we have been underspending in that staff, in the line item for staff, and that has been for many reasons. But one of the big components of this particular budget moving forward and has been the realignment or the expansion of that workforce plan as well. So what we have is a rating strategy that's about to align with the budget that we are being asked to adopt shortly after this. And if one of these pieces fall apart at this point, after we've gone to advertising, we've gone through the process, we've received the submissions, council's endorsed this plan for advertising. I won't say endorsed this strategy because that's what we're doing right now for final endorsement. So I just ask councillors to consider where we are in the process now in regards to this, where this would leave us if you weren't to support this and we were to move to a foreshadowed item, the challenging position that would leave us in for how we adopt our budget tonight and everything that subsequently comes after that in this recommendation. And again, if anyone wants to thank me for squashing the en bloc carton of Swan draft or anything like that, keep it under $50, I've got to declare it. But, I will be supporting the officer's recommendation tonight. That is what council intended to do initially, and that's what the staff have prepared in accordance with that. And I think that the council, be it I wasn't here on those nights, has listened to those initial concerns that were raised in those first meetings.
Okay, those in favour of the motion? Councillor Noonan, Councillor Sharp, Councillor Ferguson, Councillor Shiano and Councillor Voyers. That is passed by absolute majority. Thank you, councillors.
Can you do for and against again, please?
I've been asked to do for and against again, so the minute secretary can catch them. Those for, again, please, just to make sure we get it right. Councillor Noonan, Councillor Sharp, Councillor Ferguson, Councillor Shiano, Councillor Voyers. Those against? Councillor McCleary, Councillor Montgomery, Councillor Mogg and Councillor Hasty. That is carried by absolute majority. Thank you. Officer Recommendation 2, that Council, in accordance with Section 6.2 of the Local Government Act 1995, adopts the annual budget for the year ending 3rd of June 26, acknowledging changes noted, if any, will alter some of the annual budget content and authorise the CEO to effect these changes in the budget document before distribution. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Shiano, second to Councillor Noonan. Councillor Shiano.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll just make some short comments and then look forward to listening to discussion in regard to this. Obviously, this budget, aligns with the rating strategy that Council's just endorsed, and I think some of the key takeaways from here is, as I mentioned a little earlier, is around some of the major or changes or increases, which have been rightfully pointed out by members of the community and council in regard to staffing. And I think it's a really important discussion to have around ensuring that as an organisation and as a business who, I don't like the criticism of spending money on staffing, because the reality is in a town like Capel, you are the predominant employer. That is the reality. I was across the road at the coffee shop, and you go across there and you see half the Shire staff over there and you go, what are you doing? And then you realise that if half the Shire staff went over there, the coffee shop wouldn't have any clientele. So it is a matter of, staffing are the jobs for the mums and dads of our community. But importantly, we need to be a place where people want to work and people want to stay. And being competitive in our market in the southwest is very unique to our region in the way that if you're, working in the Shire of, Carnarvon, you can't just drive to your next local government because you want to be a town planner in Northampton. A little bit difficult. But over here, obviously, it's very competitive. There are very talented staff, and planning staff particularly, are very short supply. If I was starting my life again, I probably would have gone off and studied to be a planner. But then I would have waited for the Shire of Capel to work out its wages to come back here. But look, there are significant changes there, and I know that there has been an underspend in that area because retention of staff has been difficult, and there is quite a significant growth in that particular area within this budget, but also there is a minor deficit and carryover of some projects, still with carryover of some projects from the last financial year. So it is a swings and roundabout situation. I think just in addressing probably some of the reserve stuff, I think the main thing that sticks out for me is around the waste management reserve, and it's sort of, whether it's part of this discussion or part of a later discussion, but part of what we're being asked to endorse later tonight is maintaining that 3-bin service at the current rate. And I know that I think that is the right thing to do, in the fact that obviously that contract in general, the raw cost of that contract continues to increase, but the reality is with the current FOGO system situation, there probably are some cost savings there because we're not utilising that, whereas there is still increases to the 2-bin service. I think you put that into contrast with the fact that I think the long-term challenge here is that, there's 662,000 net outgoing within that waste management reserve. We're still not breaking even or recuperating 50% of that cost for our general waste management. And there is some money in the waste infrastructure reserve, which is its own separate strategic reserve for potentially that future facility or whatever that future strategy will be. And there is some money going in there, and there's nothing coming out because there is really no expenditure from an infrastructure perspective at the moment. But we are going to come up to a serious challenge in regards to waste management, and ensuring that we are maintaining both of those reserves over the next up to 5 years is going to be really important, because we're going to end up in a situation soon where we are going to need to plan for an unplanned infrastructure expense that's quite significant. However that comes across, we'll have to be contributing to that. And so I think between that, the staffing, and just around the reserve management as well, I think there's a few things to watch. I'm not saying those are criticisms of this budget. I think there's a very challenging environment at the moment. I think the cost price index for local government is significantly high currently, be that the cost of raw materials or the cost of fuel and other things. And obviously it's a competitive staffing market that has a huge impact on the cost price index for local government too. I think what we've got here is a responsible budget that fits within the strategy that council has endorsed. So I'm happy to support the recommendation and the draft, this adoption of this annual budget.
Councillor Noonan. Any speakers against? Look, I'd like to speak for and support Councillor Shiano. He correctly identifies that some of the comments that come through from the community and indeed around this table are that we underspend on staffing. But if we don't actually take my view is if we don't take a strategic response to this and ensure our workplace plan is fully funded to its expectation, including the incremental wage increases and salary parity across the Shire staff to ensure we have a better opportunity for staff retention against the appalling cost of onboarding. I hate that word, but boy, it's when you mention it, you just think of the dollars running out the door. So I actually think, councillors, that having now adopted the rating strategy, that we are actually not beholden, but I would encourage you to support the balance of the recommendations which flow from that strategy. We're going to have higher operating costs that are inevitable and not as a consequence of any action of staff or the council that is inappropriate. We're going to be placed with fuel and material cost increases in an uncertain world, and they're going to be a reality. And so I often ask, when someone says, I want to pay less rates, what don't you want done? Now, would part of that not being done, say to this wonderful staff that have been recruited for the Dalialup Library and Hub, say, look, I'm sorry, the job no longer exists, we'll close the door and we won't open it to the community. That's the sort of situation that you could be confronted with if you don't adopt a strategy or a rating outcome that provides sufficient funds. We're at the end of the whip, we're the one that oscillates, we're the one that has to feel the pain. I'm going to support the motion and I commend it to the rest of the councillors. Any further speakers for or against? Then right of reply, Councillor Shiano.
No, I'm good, thank you.
I'll put that motion. Those in favour? That's Councillor Noonan, Councillor Hastie, Councillor Sharp, Councillor Mobb, Councillor Ferguson, Councillor Montgomery, Councillor McCleary, Councillor Shiano and Councillor Voyers. That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Officer recommendation number 3. The Council, in accordance with section 6.16 of the Local Government Act 1995, adopts the schedule of fees and charges as presented in the budget 26-27 for the year ending the 30th of June 27. Can I have a mover for that motion, please? Move Councillor Noonan. Is it going to... Oh, sorry, thank you, Councillor Shiano, thank you. Councillor Noonan.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yes, I'd move it as read and just simply say that you're right in that now that we've adopted this rating strategy, a $21 million rating strategy, we've approved the budget. I think it makes sense to continue to adopt this program that has been very carefully worked out by the staff and that we have had the opportunity to interrogate over, the last couple of months. So I think that we should adopt this as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Noonan. Councillor Shiano?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Any further speakers? Any speakers against? Any further speakers for? Councillor Noonan? I'll put the motion. Councillor Noonan, Councillor Hastie, Councillor Sharp, Councillor Mogg, Councillor Ferguson, Councillor Montgomery, Councillor McCleary, Councillor Shiano, Councillor Voyers. That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Officer recommendation number 4. The Council grants a rate concession 26-27 under section 6.47 of the Local Government Act 1995 to limit the specific area rate for Dalialup Parks and Reserves maintenance to be an amount of $214.60 for 88 ratepayers in the zones groups 3, 4, 5 and 6 and 8 Dalialup who are levied the specific area rate for the maintenance of parks and reserves above this figure. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Shiano. Councillor Noonan, seconded. Councillor Shiano.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think if I've understood this correct, because it's quite an interesting way of dealing with this particular issue, we have to grant a rate concession because it's the only way that we can imply a maximum rate, and this is the special area rate essentially. So we have to give a concession to those 88 ratepayers that would have been captured under the SAR formula that would have gone over that $250 odd maximum, and this is the only way we can apply a maximum. So I think this is more procedural than anything, but vitally important.
Councillor Noonan. Any speakers against? Councillor Shiano. Those in favour? Councillor Noonan, Councillor Hastie, Councillor Sharp, Councillor Mogg, Councillor Ferguson, Councillor Montgomery, Councillor McCleary, Councillor Shiano, Councillor Voyers. That's carried unanimously. Officer recommendation number 5, the council grants a rate concession for 2026-27 under section 6.47 of the Local Government Act 1995 to GL Roberts of Sussex, location 1328 Capel Road, Tootingup, Road A94, by levying a rate on the property calculated at the adopted rate in the dollar for rural land, rate zone group 11, disregarding the application of the minimum rate. Can I have a mover for the motion, please? Councillor Noonan, Councillor McCleary, Councillor Noonan.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yes, this particular property comes up every year. It's interesting in that because of its location, I believe sitting over 2 local government areas. So that's the reason for this motion.
Thank you, Councillor Noonan. Any speakers against? Any further speakers for? I'll put the motion. Oh, sorry, right reply. I'm sorry, Councillor McCleary.
I'll have to speak now, Mr. President, because you've given me the chance as the seconder to this motion. Yeah, as pointed out by Councillor Noonan, this is an anomaly that's within our shire that it crosses 2 boundaries. So, yeah, it's going to be here every year.
Thank you, Councillor McCleary. Any speakers against? Any further speakers for? I'll put the motion. Oh, sorry, right a reply. Councillor Noonan. I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Councillor Noonan, Councillor Hastie, Councillor Sharp, Councillor Mogg, Councillor Ferguson, Councillor Montgomery, Councillor McCleary, Councillor Shiano and Councillor Voyers. That's passed and passed with an absolute majority. I do note that the previous 4 motions that we dealt with were also passed with an absolute majority as required. We now move on to officer recommendations number 6, 7 and 8. I would, and 9. 6, 7, 8, 9? Yep. Is there, would there be someone like to move a motion to deal with these in globo? Okay. Okay. According to the CEO's advice, we're not to do that. So we'll deal with recommendation number 7. 6? Oh, sorry, yes. Recommendation number 6, the council in accordance with section 6.451B of the Local Government Act 1995, authoring the following options for payments of rates during the 26-27 financial year. Option 1, payment in full by single instalment 35 days after the issue of the annual rates notice, 11 September 26. Option 2, payment in 4 equal instalments, 11 September 26, 11 November 26, 11 January 27 and 11 March 27, with the first instalment payable 35 days after the issue date of the annual rate notice, 11 September 26. In accordance with this section 6.453 of the Local Government Act, impose an interest rate on instalments of 3% for the first, second, third and fourth instalments. In accordance with section 6.453 of the Local Government Act 1995, impose an administrative fee on the second, third and fourth instalments. In accordance with 6.51 of the Local Government Act 1995, impose a late payment penalty interest rate of 7% on rates that have not been paid by the due date when the instalment option 2 has not been taken up. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Shiano, seconder. Councillor Noonan. Councillor Shiano.
No, thank you. I think the motion explains itself.
Councillor Noonan. Any speakers against? Any further speakers for? Then I'll put the motion. I'll write a reply. Councillor Shiano. Sorry, Mr. Councillor McCleary. Sorry, Councillor Montgomery.
Thank you. Through the chair, I just have a question. Is there a mechanism where people can pay either monthly, fortnightly, weekly in order to make it a little bit easier for those struggling financially?
I'll refer to the CEO for that answer.
Thank you.
Thank you for your question, Councillor, through the chair. Yes, we have a policy whereby, obviously, you've got your payment plan here that do your normal instalments, but then if families are struggling with financial hardship or they just want a bit of a, I suppose, a different payment plan option, they can contact our rate coordinator and then she can negotiate with them a payment plan option outside of the instalment process. And we do, it's called a financial hardship policy. I believe it's available on the Shire's website. And we do have some of those in place. And we do obviously to support families that are struggling.
Okay, thank you. So that doesn't need to be in the actual recommendation? No? Okay, thank you.
Councillor Montgomery, was moved by Councillor Shiano. You should have a right to reply, Councillor.
No, thank you. I'm fine. Thank you.
I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Councillor Noonan, Councillor Hasty, Councillor Sharp, Councillor Ferguson, Councillor Montgomery, Councillor McCleary, Councillor Shiano and Councillor Voyers vote for. Those against? Councillor, please raise your right hand. Councillor Mogg votes against. That's declared carried by absolute majority. We don't need it, but we got it. Thank you. Officer recommendation number 7, that council in accordance with the Local Government Financial Management Regulation 1996, Regulation 34.5, adopts a percentage of plus or minus 10% to be used for reporting and variances of actual expenditure revenues to be budget expenditure revenues in the monthly report of financial activities 2026-27. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor McCleary, seconder. Councillor Noonan, Councillor McCleary.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think this is pretty straightforward. It's just a method of reporting and it's been happening over the years. I don't think there's any need to change it.
Thank you. Councillor Noonan. Any speakers against? Any further speakers for? Councillor McCleary. I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Councillor Noonan, Councillor Hasty, Councillor Sharp, Councillor Mogg, Councillor Ferguson, Councillor Montgomery, Councillor McCleary, Councillor Shiano, Councillor Voyers. That's carried unanimously. Offer recommendation number 8, that council in accordance with section 3.18 of the Local Government Act 1995 advise that it is satisfied that the services and facilities it provides and which are funded in the 26-27 budget integrate and coordinate as far as practical with any provided by the Commonwealth, state or any public body, do not duplicate to an extent that council considers inappropriate services or facilities provided by the Commonwealth, state or any other body or person, whether public or private, will be managed efficiently and effectively. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Shiano. Councillor Noonan. Oh, sorry, I got Councillor Noonan first. I'm sorry, Councillor McCleary. Councillor Shiano.
No, I don't think there's anything to add.
Councillor Noonan. Any speakers against? Councillor Shiano, right to reply. I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Councillor Noonan, Councillor Hasty, Councillor Sharp, Councillor Mogg, Councillor Ferguson, Councillor Montgomery, Councillor McCleary, Councillor Shiano and Councillor Voyers. That's carried unanimously by absolute majority. That the council, in accordance with the Department of Creative Industry, recommendation number 9, in accordance with the Department of Creative Industry, Tourism and Sports rating policy, differential general rates and rating policy, minimum payments guidelines, adopts the 26-27 rating strategy document, which includes objects and reasons for the 26-27 financial year. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor McCleary. Councillor Shiano. Councillor McCleary. Passes. Councillor Shiano. Any speakers against? Councillor McCleary. I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Councillor Noonan, Councillor Hasty, Councillor Sharp, Councillor Mogg, Councillor Ferguson, Councillor Montgomery, Councillor McCleary, Councillor Shiano and Councillor Voyers. That's passed. Thank you. Unanimously. We move on to now section 16.3. Now, I know to make the comment, it's a little after 8 o'clock, but is the consensus that we continue for the next few minutes? Do you want a break or you want a 5-minute break? So we're going to have a break? Or do you want to keep going? All right, 5-minute break. Move a procedure motion for a 5-minute break. Councillor Noonan, seconded Councillor Hoyers. I'll put that motion. Those in favour? Declare that carried unanimously. See you in 5 minutes. Thank you, councillors. We resume the meeting at 8:18 and move on to item 16.3, financial reports 30th of June 26. Recommendation in accordance with the Local Government Financial Management Regulation 1966, Section 34(4)A, that Council received the financial reports for the month ending 30th of June 26. Can I have a move for the motion, please? I'm sorry, Councillor Voyers, I didn't note that you went back in the chamber. My apologies. Can I have a mover for the motion, please? 16.3. Councillor Noonan, seconder. Councillor McCleary. Councillor Noonan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd just like to move the motion as read.
Councillor McCleary. Any speakers against? Councillor McCleary, right to reply. I'm sorry, Councillor Noonan, right to reply.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's getting a little bit late, but it's good that we've had the opportunity to read through these reports and just compare them with previous months, and so everything looks to be on track, which is good.
Any speakers against? I know we already did that. It's my apologies. I just saw Councillor Hasty come up, but there must be some miscuing of the... Yeah. So my apologies. I'm not sure what's going on here, but anyway, so they're being... I'll put that matter to the vote. Those in favour? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 16.4, accounts paid during the month of June. Officer's recommendation that in accordance with Regulation 1311 Local Government Regulations that the list of payments made under delegated authority for the month of June 26 be received by Council and recorded in the minutes of the Council summary, which as follows. Equates to an equivalent amount of $4,300,821.45 for the month of June. Payroll payments for the month of June equated to $730,146.74. Transfers to and from investments as listed. Can I have a move for the motion, please? Deputy Shire President, Councillor Mogg. Seconder, please. Councillor Voyers. Councillor Mogg.
Thank you, President. I move the motion as read.
Councillor Voyers.
Yes, agreed as read.
Any speakers against? I just made the comment that when I look at it, the list of payments made and the comprehensive nature of it, the diverse nature of it, the management of the payment process, ensuring they comply with the regulatory framework and the ethics and conduct of good operations and satisfy our audit committee is I think it's an extraordinary effort. I actually think, well done you all. Thank you. And I'd like to commend the motion, but I'll put them to the vote. I'll write a reply. Councillor Mogg.
Reserve, thank you.
I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Declare that carried unanimously. Thank you. New business of an urgent nature. There's been none. Motions without notice. There being none. Public question time. There remains one party in the gallery, but is there any questions? No, you need to...
Thank you. Yeah, I'm Richard Lee from East Boyanup.
Okay, yes, got
that. Yep. Where I live, we're impacted by the new subdivision at the end of Timpley Street. In that area, we've also got the tiny homes project that was approved some months back, and we want to know about what's happening with Timpley Street, when that'll be reopened, and we would like some kind of ongoing communication with our group so that we don't get surprises, because we've got there's going to be like quite a lot of homes built behind us. Our environment is changing, so we'd like some kind of person of contact or some communication system in place, because we've got quite a lot happening in our area.
What is the group that you represent?
East Boyne Up Action Group, or East Boyne Up Group. We formed when we put in our protest regarding the tiny homes project.
Okay. I'm not sure whether we're able to communicate with you unless you're a registered body, but I'll pass that question over to the CEO. Thank you.
Thank you through the chair, and thank you, Richard, for your question. Obviously understand there's a bit happening in Boyne Up now, and obviously appreciate you want to know more. There is a mechanism whereby we can provide updates to you in terms of what's happening, particularly around the East Boyne Up development that's happening there. What I will do is I will take your contact details from you after the meeting, and then just let you know what that looks like moving forward. But there is something we can do there for you.
Yeah, thanks very much for that.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. There being no other public questions, then that is concluded. Item 20, notice of motion for consideration at the next ordinary meeting council is nil. Items for consideration between closed doors as previously advised is nil. So I now declare the meeting closed at 8:24. And thank you, councillors, and thank you, staff.